Candace, I'm going to start with you. I mean, the finance minister in Calgary today is intimating that these projects can't get built anymore between squabbling provinces without government bailouts, essentially. Do you think that's...
The problem, pipelines have been built prior to this Liberal government taking office. There's a number of ways that the Liberals have messed up the environment for pipelines to get built here in Canada. Mm-hmm. The regulatory process has become completely uncertain. A carbon tax, banning of tankers on the northern coast. The Liberals have already killed Energy East. They've killed Northern Gateway. We have been warning them for years, 2 years, that they needed to be champions of the oil and gas sector, not just abroad, which the Prime Minister has been actually very negative about our sector abroad, but at home. And so right now what he has done is he is now seeing all of his mistakes come to fruition. And this is why Kinder Morgan has not been able to get built. And now, instead of seeing leadership from him, he's using $4.5 billion of taxpayers' dollars to bail himself out.
Well, on the one hand...
Candace says you dropped the ball, that
I would argue that
pipelines.
I would argue on that for 10 years they dropped the ball, not being able to build one pipeline to export markets.
4 major pipelines. I thought I might have a Liberal who was fabricating. So I actually have the list here. I'd like you to read it if you would. Right. 4 major pipelines that were built. 4 major pipelines were built with not 1 cent of taxpayers' dollars. The Liberals have put all of their eggs in one basket. It's the Trans Mountain. But then they would be talking out of both sides of their mouths. They were telling industry that they actually didn't support them. They were saying, we don't think that pipelines should be built. They've got members of their own caucus who don't believe pipelines should be built. Mm-hmm. We have a Prime Minister who says that we want to phase out the energy sector. And then he wonders why Kinder Morgan was in the trouble that they were. So he had no choice now but to buy it.
But I think it is worth...
And it's a terrible, terrible decision. It's a very expensive Band-Aid that does nothing to fix the big problem, because who else is going to want to come and invest in Canada?
Right. Markets, exactly.
There have been pipelines built
to international markets outside of the U.S.
Actually, there was one that went actually right through my riding that goes right down to the U.S. and down to the Gulf Coast. So let's be clear. There was the Enbridge Alberta Clipper. There was the original Keystone at Kinder Morgan Anchor Loop. That was in Canada. And then Enbridge Line 9B reversal.
If I may,
that one does go down to the U.S.
It does go down to the U.S. The goal is to export markets outside of the U.S. But I think what we have is...
It's always been less, hasn't it?
How much is this going to cost? All we know is the $4.5 billion. Yeah. How much more is it going to cost?
That's what we're not being told. That is a big question mark, I must say, and I don't think we're going to get an answer here today. But